Hey gang! Alright, we're going to talk about what's under the hood, and we're also just going to cover really quick the hydro. The hydro uses 10W30 oil. Alright, use SAE 10W30. Here's where you fill, right there. Take that out. The oil level is when it's to the bottom edge of that fill port. That's how you fill it. If you want to flush the system, there's your plug so you can flush it out. Alright, that takes care of the hydro pump and servicing that. What do you want to do when you've got the hood off and you're going through and doing a full and complete service? Check your spark plug. If your engine's running, there's no need to change your spark plug, but pull it out and check it. Okay? It will tell you a number of things. So let's go ahead and get it out of there. Oop. You guys are really close to me. You're almost in my way. Almost. Got the E3 spark plug in this. I like them and I hate them. They either work well or they don't. They don't work well on an engine that burns a lot of oil. Okay. Now we can see the condition. This plug has probably not been out in 6 or 7 years. You see how clean, nice clean burn, not running too rich, not running too lean, good looking color. So we know that we're good there. This will be an opportunity, if you were curious, to do a compression test. Now mind you, it's an easy spin. If it's an easy spin engine, that means that the camshaft has a decompression bump on it that will release itself once the engine starts. You won't get an accurate compression reading without spinning the engine over above the decompression. Another way that you can do it, I've said it before, run the engine backwards. You're not going to wreck anything if you do. Okay? If you're charging and your starter generator happens to have, okay, right here is just a blank boss, but if it happens to have an oiler, go ahead and oil it. Some of them have just a front oiler, some of them have just a back, some of them have both. Oil them. A little bit of 30 weight. If you're charging, you know that your regulator's doing okay. You don't need to do anything with your regulator. Just inspect your wires for dry cracks, breaking, so on and so forth. And if we look at this old landlord close enough, we can see it is still sporting its canvas covered wires, its boots, its original right angle crimp clips. This is my accessory side, so this is what I've got my rear light attached with and my front lights. So you see right here, this is a wiring harness right here for the front lights. These guys right here and my beautiful chrome bracket. But okay, done inspecting that. If you're running a stack or a regular muffler, just inspect them. Make sure they're not loose and floppy and wobbly. Also make sure you've got them locked in with lock washers, not just tightened down real tight, or you're going to have a heck of a time if you ever have to take them out. You want to inspect your gas tank, and you're inspecting it for any kind of rust. Easy enough. Take your cap off. This one's just about empty. Take your cap off and shine your flashlight down in there. See how nice and clean that is? My gas is a little old, but it's been stabilized. That's why it still runs. But nice and clean. You also want to watch for a bunch of sediment down in there as well. Then we come down to our air cleaner. Pop this off, inspect your air cleaner. Now would be the time to change it if you can't see light through it. I usually just shine the flashlight through the inside, and if I can see the light on the outside, I call it good. Do not blow out your air filters unless you blow them out from the inside out, okay? And don't do it with a high pressure. It's not recommended that you do it at all, but you can get a little bit more life out of these filters if you do that. If it's the full foam filter, those get oiled and wrung out. You oil them and wring all that oil right back out of them. It's a messy job, but there's also paper element filters available for these. While you're down here, inspect your fuel line. Make sure your fuel line's not all dry checked or hard. A lot of times you're going to have fuel delivery issues. The inner linings of fuel lines like to deteriorate thanks to that wonderful stuff in our gas now called ethanol. And it'll cause kind of a check valve. And if that happens, you'll need to replace that section of fuel line. I always recommend any engine, just put a fuel shut off on it and get in the habit of shutting the fuel off. It's just peace of mind, especially when you're storing it for the winter. Shut that off, let the engine run till the engine dies. That way your fuel bowl's empty. You're not going to run the risk of damaging any of the internal components of the carburetor with oxidization. And this little tab here, it's on most Briggs engines, that little tab, you know what that's for? That's so when you're servicing, you can take your spark plug wire and stick your spark plug wire in there. Keep it out of the way. That's what it's actually for. Isn't that cool? Make sure we got that tightened back down. Yep, we're tight. And then lastly, you want to come over and inspect your battery terminals and make sure you don't have a bunch of corrosion on your battery terminals. If you do, I highly suggest getting battery cleaner and acid detector, or get yourself a mix of water and baking soda and put that on it, and that will neutralize the battery acid. Then if you have the means to, check the condition of your battery. This battery is going on 10 years old. And let me just show you here real quick. Make sure everything's out of the way and it's in neutral and the oil caps are on and everything. I need a little bit of choke. Hang on. Going on 10 years old, AGM battery. But you want to check it. So if you have the means, check that battery. Let me grab my battery tester. If you have a standard acid battery, lead acid battery, you can expect to get, if you tend to them, put tenders on them through the winter, stuff like that, you can expect to get probably, in a real good scenario, 5 years out of a battery. But if you're going to hang on to a tractor for a long time, nothing beats these AGMs. And this is a big AGM battery. AGM stands for absorbed glass mat. So I have this Topton tester, and it is an absolute gem. Just fantastic. So we're going to hit OK. These are typically rated in amp hours instead of cold cranking amps. So what I usually do is I take the larger of the two batteries that normally would be installed, the 360 cold cranking amp, and that's what I put in here for cranking amps. So we're on English, in vehicle, and it would be after charge because I ran it for a little while. Regular flooded, nope. AGM flat plate, which is what this is. It's not a Optima. Cold cranking amp input, 280. We'll go up to 360. Whoops. And then we're just going to hit OK. And it will tell you good or bad. And it's probably getting close to being bad. State of health 6% replace. But it's still putting out 130 cranking amps. And state of charge is 98%. So this battery has lasted 10 years. So a little bit of extra money initially, but if you think the average life expectancy of an off-the-shelf lawnmower battery is going to be 2 to 3 years. If you get 10 years out of an AGM, you just multiply the price of the standard lead acid batteries that you would be putting in your machine. And AGMs are definitely justifiable that way. Definitely justifiable. So there we go. If you want to test how you're charging while you've got everything off, that's easy enough to do too. Now, of course, you're going to have an amp gauge on the dash. The amp gauge is going to tell you whether you're charging or not. But the easiest way to do it is take your battery tester, put it on DC, connect your connectors before you start the battery to get your base voltage, start it, ramp the engine up, and your voltage should increase. I don't have it connected. I'm just showing you, just telling you how to do it. And another way to do it, which is an even more generic way, but still quite effective. Let me find it. I know it's here. And this is, I've got one of these in the truck toolbox. This is typically what I use. I just use a regular ordinary light bulb and a couple of alligator clips, and I will connect the two of them to negative and positive. As you can see, I've got a light. I will start it. It'll dim as I'm cranking. Then it'll get bright. As I ramp the engine up, it will get brighter. That tells me I'm charging. Quick, easy, generic way to test and see if you're charging. If you happen to have headlights, you can do the same thing. Start it, turn the headlights on, and ramp it up and see if your headlights get a little bit brighter. So that's one of the nifty things about a starter generator is it's not putting out full amperage at lower speeds. Your amp meter, like I say, it's going to tell you if you're charging or discharging. But those are the things that you're going to want to check. Another thing that I highly suggest you do, because it's the cause of many gas tanks going to the great gas tank junkyard in the sky, is put something between your battery and your gas tank that is impervious to acid. I have a piece of formica in here that the acid will stay on this side of the compartment and not leach into and rust out my gas tank from battery acid. I've seen a lot of them where the sides of the tanks have got pinholes all over them. So just a little heads up there. And I think we've pretty much come to the end. You want to check your belts, check the condition of your belts. You're looking for cracked or deteriorated belts. See the belt. Let me move the left arm out of the way here. You can see this belt is in real good shape. This is one of the Kevlar belts. Okay. And then you also, if you have a hydro pump, you want to check that belt too. A little harder to see, but you can still get down in there and get a gander at it and make sure it's in good shape. It's a really small belt. So, and then you just go through and you're looking for any odd, unusual, or undesired leaks anywhere. If you don't have any, then you're golden and you're ready to go for another 50 plus years. All right, that's it. That wraps it up. This is what to do under the hood when you're doing a full service. Check it all. Also, if you're, I'm sorry, I keep doing that. I did it on the last one too. If your belt slips, you can put just a little bit more tension on it. You don't want to put a ton of tension on it because that'll wear the bearing out in the housing a lot faster. This one happens to have a roller bearing, but if it was just a bushing, which a lot of them have, then you're going to run into problems. And there's not very much clearance between the shunts and field wires and the armature inside this. So even just the slightest little bit of wear here, it's going to cause rubbing of the armature, which is going to overheat the starter generator and burn it up. So just be aware of that. All right, we covered it. There you have it. It's your friendly neighborhood Zippo. Thanks again for sticking around and going through with me on this beautiful old Hi guys, I was just looking at my lens. It looks a little foggy. Going over these beautiful old Simplicity, Allis-Chalmers, and Montgomery Ward Garden Mark tractors. There's just nothing like them. So that's it. I promise you guys, I will be on the next one. Later. I'm out of here.